He reaches out his hand. He says, "Oh, you of little faith," and it kind of hit me from my spiritual level in the sense of like, wow, I've had moments where I felt like I didn't have faith in God.
Ends up being gay, and he is in charge of a funeral home, living with the loss and the grieving. And during the process of rehearsal and the show, I was able to use some of that.
Reveal a lot of things about yourself. What are you really scared of? And it will break a lot of chains that you have been holding on to.
We'll see how exciting it is.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Jose El Güero, and welcome to another episode of Güero Safe House. We have a special guest. This is my first guest ever on the show, and I am truly excited. She is my neighbor, actually. She is a wonderful person. She did undergrad at GCU. She has a master's and a doctorate at ASU. She taught at New Mexico State University, Milligan University, and she is currently the assistant professor of musical theater at the University of Northern Colorado. And she has performed in many plays and events, from Marcy on the national tour of VeggieTales to Kala in Tarzan to even performing at the Super Bowl. And recently I saw her at a show of Oklahoma, and she played Aunt Eller, which she did amazing. So she is this is going to be a great show. So everybody welcome Carrie Ann Klofach. Carrie, hi. Welcome.
Hi.
This is so exciting.
We'll see how exciting it is.
I'm honestly really glad that you took the time to do this, because you were iffy about it, but I'm glad that you decided to do it because it means a lot. It really does mean a lot. And I just know this is going to be a good episode because, again, we've had conversations, just knowing a little bit about you and what you've gone through and your life and your career. I'm like, you know what? I would love to have you here, and I feel like a lot of people would like it. So start off just by telling a little bit about yourself.
Oh, that's such a tricky thing when people say, "Tell me about yourself." Because I feel like there's so many different levels. Like, people like to lead with what you do as "tell me about yourself." Mm-hmm. But I like to more lead with kind of where I've been, because I feel like that tells more of a story. Mm-hmm. I was born in Las Cruces, New Mexico, and moved pretty quickly from there to Arizona. We moved back to Arizona, my mom, my brother, and I, after my dad passed away. He was in a really bad car accident. It was just him. And so my mom moved back to Arizona with her family so that she could be with family. Raised us there. Lived there all of my life. Growing up, and then ended up going to Grand Canyon University because my brother went there first.
That's where I'm at too. I love it. That was so crazy, the fact that you told me that. I'm like, oh my God, me too. I love it. I really do.
Yeah, more people go there than you would think.
I didn't even know it existed. I didn't know that was
That's
actual
crazy.
college.
Well, and they have a huge online presence now. They didn't have that. When I went there, it was a very small Christian university. I went there because it was a Christian university. Learned a lot about my fields that I'm in, music, but also learned a lot about myself. My brother ended up not graduating. He got married and moved to Tucson. But then I decided I wanted to continue because my voice teacher said, "Well, what are you going to do next?" I was like, "I don't know, maybe my master's? I don't know." So then I went and did my master's at Arizona State. Some people get ASU confused with like Arkansas or something else. No, Arizona State, go Sun Devils. And really enjoyed my time there. Arizona State is massive. Like, the school is so big, it's unreal. Our area, I did not know this. The School of Music was very selective. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I did not know how difficult it was to get into the school until I was in it.
Selective in what way?
Well, you have to, when you audition for programs that have to do with performing arts, for kind of like big dog schools or very selective schools, you have to do a pre-screen audition where you record yourself performing something, send it in. If they like what they see, they grant you an in-person audition. The year that I did it, we did not have to do pre-screens. Don't know why. Numbers, maybe. Who knows? So I got an in-person audition, but also the reason why is my undergrad voice teacher was the wife of the teacher I wanted to study with during grad school. So her husband was at Arizona State.
Okay.
So that was helpful.
Nice.
Because he had come to all my performances, had seen what I'd done in undergrad, and he was like, yes,
Like,
I will take her.
come
Yes,
to me.
come to school here. So that was nice. But once I was in the program, wow, I had to learn how to work really hard. Before that, I was just used to being good at what I did. And at that school, you had to be better than good.
Right.
And so that's really where I got my work ethic, was being in my master's program. And then from there, I went and learned stuff in the real world after I graduated, moved to several different places, and met my husband, moved around even more, and then came here, and we love Colorado.
Beautiful.
I don't want to leave, ever.
I don't either, but
I
will.
know.
I will.
I know, it's sad. I don't want a new neighbor.
Just want to remind you guys that this episode is brought to you by Lost Apparel from my homie Ruchi down in Birmingham, Alabama. Man, always with the sickest vintage stuff. I got this vintage Orioles hat from the 90s. He has great stuff. You got to check him out. I'm going to have his Instagram in the bio. 10% off if you use code WEDDLE on that. And this episode is also brought to you by Soccer Nation from my homie Michael Valladares out in Pelham. Well, both are in Pelham. Both Ruchi and Michael are in Pelham. Soccer Nation, man. You need all your soccer needs, man. He has cleats, balls, jerseys, everything that you can think of, man. He also does custom jersey designs. He also, has starting to do some embroidery, some heat pressing, make shirts for you, for your businesses as well. Check him out. Use 10%. You get 10% off if you use code WEDDLE at a store on certain items. So y'all check him out. So I guess, as you're talking about with your school and the performing arts, it was really going to lead to my first question here. Where did the love of acting and music and singing come from?
I grew up singing in church from, I think I was 3 years old the first time I sang in church.
Really?
3 or 4.
3 years old in
Yeah.
the church singing.
Oh, yeah. So my brother's a year and a half older than me, and we would sing together all the time. Hey, girl.
Oh, my God.
And it's because I'm talking about singing, right? I know you sing. And so I grew up singing in church. My mom would help us put on these little plays, these little musicals. There was a thing, gosh, I think it was the 80s. Yeah, 80s. Salty the Singing Songbook. Like as in Psalty, salty.
PSA.
Like the Psalms.
Oh.
Salty the
Okay.
Singing Songbook. And so he would teach lessons about the Bible, and there were musicals written. And so my mom would kind of direct them, put them together. My brother was always Salty the Singing Songbook. And my cousins went to church with us, and so we would all just gather together, put on these musicals, and that's kind of where I got my love for it. And then I joined choir in elementary school. And here's a funny story. I have so many stories.
I love it.
My choir teacher, when you were caught talking, he would say that you had to sing a solo next choir rehearsal. So I talked all the time because I wanted to sing a solo. And
So you did it on purpose?
I did. And he wouldn't let me, he would never call me out on it. And it made me so mad because I wanted to sing a solo. And finally he was like, oh, Carrie, okay, next time you can sing a solo. And I sang, it was a Whitney Houston song, and it was not appropriate for elementary school. I can't remember what it was called. No.
No? Okay.
No. But yeah, that's kind of where it all began. I remember that teacher's name, Mr. Heatherly, and just kept singing in schools. Never did a real show until I went to undergrad. And my
At
brother,
GCU? When you
yeah,
were there?
GCU. My brother, because he was there earlier, he said, "Oh, Carrie, they're having auditions for the opera before you come to school. Maybe you should audition." I was like, "Can I?" So I emailed them and asked them, and they said, "Yeah, sure." And so I got cast in the chorus. And so the first real show I did was an opera.
And you were how old at this time?
17, because
17.
my birthday's in September, so I didn't turn 18 until I was already in school.
Why do you think your parents never put you in like those different like auditions for like, you know, they put kids in auditions for
Yeah.
like a show or for singing or
Well, when
something,
I
commercials?
was young, the only
go.
thing there was Star Search. Have you ever heard of that? So that was kind of like what American Idol is now.
Okay.
Star Search was mostly singing. And I had wanted to do it, but we didn't have money. And money is a big thing too. I didn't even know that you could take private lessons from people. Like that just wasn't something.
Yeah, that you just knew about. Even like,
No.
and again, you being Hispanic too, like we don't. Like,
No.
that's a privilege if anything. But
Exactly.
It's,
You use your resources, and the resources I had were at school or at church.
right.
And so that's where I did everything. And then I went to undergrad, and we got to take lessons because it was part of our curriculum for our degree. And people would be like, "Oh, yeah, I took lessons in high school." And I felt so behind because of that. But then now as a teacher, I recognize there are lots of people they can't afford private lessons because they're expensive. I know because I
can
teach
imagine.
private lessons.
Girl, when you told me how much you're just to have some lessons from you, it's like, wow.
I know.
Go, Duchess, go.
And so
Go.
here's the thing. I have learned through my own experiences to value the things that a lot of people take for granted. And I think it's because of how I grew up. We did not have a lot of money. We grew up 2 blocks from the projects. I've seen a lot of things, a lot of my friends, a lot of people have never seen before, shootings, knife,
Yeah.
all the violence and stuff that you could think of. But I honestly feel like that benefited me because I knew that that was not where I was heading, and I knew that I could do better, and that I know that I can provide better for my students too.
I mean, that's a very humbling experience too, right? Like seeing that and being exactly where you are now, like being an assistant professor at a university, like
I know.
that's big.
Well, kind of. I wish I made more money. But no, I love my job. I love my job, and I would not change it for the world.
So what would you say fuels your passion to that, like of teaching and singing and just the arts? Because again, like I know you still perform. Again, when I saw you as Aunt Eller in Oklahoma, first of all, I didn't even know what Oklahoma was, but like that whole performance was great. Like it really opened up my eyes, especially when I first met you and you were just like, yeah, well, I'm this kind of teacher. I teach vocals, singing, and acting, performance arts, and all that stuff. And when I saw it live, I was like, wow, like. From seeing you as my neighbor to you playing into a character was very like eye-opening for me, and I was like, wow, that's talent.
I love to tell stories. And it's funny because even with my students, like, oh, I have a story. And what's cool about performing and teaching musical theater is that that's what we do. We're storytellers.
Right.
And we also get to give voice to the voiceless. So we get to give information and stories for people who don't have that opportunity.
Right.
Which I think is a beautiful thing.
That is beautiful. So when I was watching you as Aunt Eller, I
love that you're saying aunt. It's aunt.
Aunt.
Because it's Oklahoma. Very southern. Aunt.
Is aunt more like a northern thing? Is it?
No, I mean, that's like proper.
I say
southern.
aunt as like a white, the way to say it, right? But like if I'm talking to like my homies, I'll be like, yeah, aunt. My
Oh,
tia.
you're so funny. Yeah, it's aunt.
Yeah, right. So Because I got people laughed at me for saying "ant" because it's like saying A-N-A-N-T rather than ants. I'm like, nah, bro, my
English
ants.
language sucks.
Yeah.
It's true.
What spoke to one of the questions that I really had was, how do you connect emotionally with a character that is nothing like you?
I have to figure out. So if there's any backstory with Oklahoma, there's actually a book that it's based on, the
Right.
play. So you do your research and you try and figure out, what does this character want? What do they need? How do they get it? And that kind of gives you the core of who they are. And then you just learn to play. You learn to try things and you learn to explore different emotions, even if it's never happened to me in real life.
Right. So I mean, again, playing that character, just switching it. I mean, that's the funny thing. When I saw you, I'm like, she could be an ant or what ant Tia, whatever. Oh my god, now I'm gonna start.
Said Tia.
Un Tia, like you could be a Tia. It's just crazy how you play that. Because even then, when I was seeing everybody else perform, I was like, I wonder how she would pull. What was that lady who was very promiscuous and the girl, the younger who's promiscuous who was kissing all the boys in town? Anne Mary.
Oh my gosh, why am I'm a musical theater professor? Why can I not remember?
You know who I'm talking about.
Yes. I'm remembering the
Kissing
actor.
kissing all the boys
Yeah.
and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, could you how do you switch from you could being a Thea or an aunt to that character? Like,
Because her want is different. Her
so
need
how
is
do you
different.
feed that? How do you where do you find that, like, to become that person? Again, you become different characters. So
Yeah, so honestly, by studying. So it's like any topic that you would think about. There are different styles of acting that we study in college. We have, like, there's a Stanislavski method, there's Udo Hagen, there's people who, like Robert De Niro does, he will go and live the life of the character. I'm not an extremist like that. That's too much.
there's
Like,
a lot of actors who are like that,
I
right?
know. I don't do that. But I try to figure out, first off, like, what information does the musical give me or the play give me? Does it give me a location? Then I look up that location and what makes those people unique that live in that location. Look up the time period, because that has a lot to do with how people move and how people talk.
Right.
Because if you noticed in Oklahoma, they speak so differently
Yeah,
than
of
we
course.
do.
Yeah.
And
Because they're
something
playing that character in that
in
time,
that time
and
period.
all that stuff. Yeah.
And I feel like that's a challenge too, because in our conversation, we speak in kind of a more relaxed state. I don't know if I do, but I notice that with my students, and sometimes it's hard for them to play characters who come from the past because of that.
Right. I mean, you got to even think about. So I've read something about, like, Jim Carrey when he played the Grinch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he did something to live in that certain mindset to kind of sound crazy. Or he would wear his mask. He would wear his paint, the face paint, and everything, for all day, for days, and just live as that character to become that character. Heath Ledger, didn't he also kind of did the same thing
The
too
Joker.
with the Joker? And so when I hear stories like that, I'm just like, wow, like, what kind of mental switch are they putting onto their head, and how do you come out of that?
Yeah, so that I'm so glad you brought that up. That is something that we're getting better at in the theater community. We used to not be good at telling actors how to release the character. It's part of something that I'm actually involved with at UNC, intimacy coordination, which also talks about, like, being in certain circumstances that can feel overwhelming. Anything that has to do with extreme things like death or shootings or rape or any of these types of things, because they happen on stage and they're important to tell these stories. But then you also, as a human being, it's important for you to recognize that's not me, it's character. And so there are different, techniques that you can use to calm yourself after a rehearsal process. I will say a lot of what you're asking happens when you go to rehearsal and you try different things. You have to try stuff, and you have the director who's telling you, yes, that works. Or, I didn't like your choice. Can you try something else to make it work?
Okay. Give me an example, like just of a play or something in that sense. Like, what would you?
Well, like if you're trying to, if you have a scene with a partner and you're trying to tell them that their life could be better if they would leave this current one. You can do it in different ways. You can do it in an angry way and very pointed at them, or you can do it
Okay.
in a very loving, caring way.
Okay.
It's the same way we talk about therapy and how do you address people and get what you want from that. There's different ways you can go about it,
Right.
right?
Okay. I like that. That's. I mean, there's a lot of psychological, mental to it. Um,
So I tell my students a lot of times, go sit at the park. I don't know if people do that anymore, but go sit somewhere where you can observe people and
watch.
just watch. Watch how they interact. What do they do with their bodies?
You know what's so crazy? I do that sometimes when I'm in a very public place, like at the pulga, like at the flea market. I would go by myself, and I'm just watching people, and I don't know if this is just me, but do you feel like you could just kind of tell what people are going on with their lives by the way that they interact with maybe their couple, or you could be like, wow, I don't know why, but I feel like that marriage is not healthy just by the way she spoke to you or something.
Yes, you can tell so much by body language. It's crazy.
That's dope. That's dope.
But the more you recognize how humans interact, the more believable you are on stage.
That actually makes sense. That does. So speaking like with people like Heath Ledger and Jim Carrey, who their roles kind of changed them and whatnot, is there a role that you play that has changed you as a person?
People always ask me like what my favorite role is I've ever
Or that,
played.
yeah.
But it leans into that. Kala in
And
Tarzan.
Tarzan. Oh my god.
Now the reason why is because I feel like she's a mother, and I'm a stepmother, but not like a mother.
You're a mother to a pug, so that's...
Yes, I am. So here's the funny thing: I would always use the love and the support and idea that I had for Conrad, my pug, and also then think about the love my mother had for me. And channeling all of that into that character, I feel like just made me so much more open to that type of love, even though I've always been someone who's like, I don't want kids. No, thank you.
A pug is enough.
Yeah, but
And
also
Eric's daughter is
my
enough.
students.
Oh,
All
just
of them are my kids. And so I help them through all kinds of things that is a little crazy, and some joyous things too. But
do a lot of your students come to you with a lot of personal stuff too? They come with you like maybe stuff's going on at home, or just maybe they experience and you got like that connection with them?
yeah, they do. And sometimes I have to remind them, because I am a professor, that I also am required to report if anything is extreme. That they
Like
tell me.
abuse maybe or something like that.
Abuse, or feeling like they don't feel good about themselves, so they may be unsafe to be alone. I have to report certain
Of course,
things.
yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, no, even after they graduate, I had a student this morning text me, and she was all worried because she had to cancel an audition, and she was like, but I'll be fine, right? I was like, yeah, good for you making a choice.
Congratulations. on that.
Congratulations, you're an adult.
Wow. I mean, I think that's beautiful though, because again, like you don't have your own child, but you still have that inner mother in you. You still have that nurture and the protector for people that you truly care about. You know, I mean, I definitely feel like I see it with you and Eric. I don't know your relationship between you and your stepdaughter, but I'm sure like when you post about her, like you show that you love her, like you care for her, like she's your family, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Again, I think the more you show nurture and love to is Conrad, or was Conrad, and now to Alexander, like that's your baby.
Yes.
Potentially.
Yes, he is.
I love that. So what do you? Oh, I like this question. Is there a role that you dream of playing?
There's a few. Top of my list is oh gosh, I forget her name. There are a lot of mother characters, because I'm at that age where that's what I can play, and I feel like they do a lot of what I do in real life, a lot of protecting. And the top one would be the mom in a musical called Fun Home,
Okay.
which is a really interesting story. It is the story, her husband ends up being gay, and he is in charge of a funeral home, and he actually abuses some little boys. And she has had to take on knowing some of this information and not knowing what to do, like how to. She loves her husband. She doesn't like, how does she protect her children in this situation? And I love complex characters like that.
As in the sense of like when you put yourself in that position, like what would you actually do in that situation, right? Is this a real, like, is this a movie or you said it's just a
No,
play?
it's a musical.
Just a musical? What is it called
It's
again?
based on a real story, though.
What's it
a
called?
true story, Fun Home.
Fun Home.
And it's because it takes place in a funeral home.
Fun. Wow.
Now, here's
That's
the
smart.
interesting thing.
That's a good way.
Eric's dad was an undertaker. So he grew up in a funeral home. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
So my husband is Eric. Yes. So it's interesting hearing his stories about that. And that's another way of like researching characters, talking to people who maybe have some type of association with the character. And the music, I just love the music too. It's one of my favorites.
Have you looked into auditioning? I mean, where do they have these shows?
That
Has
one-
it had one here?
That one is, it's such a unique story. It takes a very specific type of theater to do it. And they did it here, I think, before COVID. And I wasn't here then.
That was the last time they've like.
Any theater here has done it. I'm hoping one will do it soon.
It seems like there's different. I guess there's different plays or musicals that are bigger than others, so it's harder to have like a big show to play here. Like Oklahoma, like that's a known one, but it's not, I guess, as big, right?
Oh no, it's
pretty
a
big?
pretty decent. Like we had 21 people in the cast, I believe.
Okay. I feel like they would have played that in somewhere like in Denver though, like a bigger
It could.
stadium, auditorium and whatnot.
Yeah, at the DCPA at the Denver Center for Performing Arts.
I like the one here at Candlelight though. That one was
Candlelight's nice.
It's very intimate.
It's nice because you get a lovely meal with it,
so
and
good.
yeah. They do a lot of wonderful shows. They're doing Anastasia, and I just went and saw it Wednesday night because I have some students in it. Yeah.
That's the one you took a picture of, I think, recently, right? They were from the old cast. Okay, nice.
Yeah. But yeah, I really enjoy being in shows that are a small little cast because I feel like the type of community that you can build with that, even though my Oklahoma cast was amazing, and I still have relationships with every single one of those people.
It showed through your social media, like how you were just always taking pictures with them.
They're
and whatnot.
amazing. And honestly, it being the first show I've done, I think it's in 6 years, 7 years, something like that. Maybe it was 8. I don't know. It's been a long time because I moved to Tennessee. And when I was in Tennessee, I was building a musical theater program, which was a lot of work. And there wasn't very many theaters available in the area I lived, so I couldn't perform.
What part of Tennessee was that again? You had
East
mentioned.
Tennessee. It happened
Like
in
Knoxville?
Johnson City.
Oh,
No,
Johnson.
farther east.
Oh wow.
So very close to
The border of Georgia and
North
South
Carolina.
Okay.
Yep, North Carolina, Virginia border. There's hardly any theaters. There's like one there,
Right.
Barter Theater. And then COVID happened, and then I moved here, and it took me a while to kind of get myself in my professor mode. And now I've allowed myself to audition because I'm like, I can do both. Because doing both at the same time, it's a lot.
How do you? How long you been at UNC?
This will be my
Professor?
5th year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. And you, as right now, like you still want to keep performing and doing auditions and all that stuff. I mean, honestly, like again, like it really like brought me happiness just like just seeing it, be like, yo, that's my neighbor. Like she's over there playing this whole Southern lady over here, and I'm like, it shocked me a lot, and I thought that was very beautiful that you were just able to do that. And I'm just like, when Eric had told me like, oh, you done Kala and Tarzan, I'm just like, I could see her doing that, and I wish I could see that player, that role. Do you have any? You have the pictures? Yes, the pictures.
Yeah, I do.
Oh my god.
Oops, hold on. So let me see. Where's my Kala? So there's that one.
Oh wow. Oh my god.
Yeah. So the really.
Oh wow. When was this again? 2015. That's what it says up there.
Yeah.
Wow.
So with Kala, she's a gorilla. So I
Yeah.
did extensive research. How do gorillas move? What is their motivation? It was a really, really hard rehearsal process. My
Yeah.
back paid for it because we had to be hunched over like
Yeah, well,
gorillas.
that's how you look. Like, why didn't
Yeah.
they? I mean, you would think they would put you in a bigger, like, or not a bigger, but in a more uh obvious gorilla suit. Like, why didn't they do that? Why did they put you? What is that? Is that
So,
just rubber and?
well, the material, the way it hangs off, it mimics the idea of fur without having to be fur. And this is the way the Broadway production did it. And so I think they were paying homage to that, the first designers that did it. Thank God. This was heavy though. That costume was very heavy. So that and then being on my
Your
knuckles.
I was about to say you had to walk and.
So they gave us these gloves that we wore, but I had constant red spots on my knuckles from using them because that's how we
Yeah.
had to walk. Because gorillas, that's how they walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, the closest I came to, I went to the Phoenix Zoo because that was in Phoenix, and they don't have any gorillas. So I observed other monkeys, but I watched so many videos
Of just how they walk.
gorillas.
So
And they're so protective of their young. And I loved that, bringing that to the story. Oh, actually, in this, you can see the gloves.
yeah, no, I saw the gloves too. I was about to say,
Yeah.
I was like, you have a real baby too, and I was like, no.
No. And then we also had, the Vibram shoes that basically people can run in and they go on each toe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We
Those
wore
weird,
those.
ugly
Yep,
ones.
we wore those, and those hurt my toes until I got used to it. It's interesting what we do for our art.
Right. No, that's, and again,
Yeah.
you guys, like how you mentioned, you do a lot of research, and it's legit. Like, you guys actually you studied and looked at just how gorillas walk, and you would think like, oh, I know how a gorilla acts, but when you actually watch them and observe them,
it's
it's like, yo,
amazing.
I didn't realize this is how they act.
Yeah,
So did you sing? There's a song that she sings,
you'll
right?
be in my heart.
Yeah.
That's my favorite song. I still use it for auditions.
It's so funny. I was watching Tarzan the other day too, and I was just singing that.
so good.
Phil Collins is great.
Yes, the music is amazing.
Is he the only? Is he the?
He's the main composer on it. Yeah.
Because I didn't hear. I don't remember hearing any other. Did he compose the one where like they're I'm going based off the movie obviously, where they find the camp, the animals, and then they're singing, playing instruments with all the
Yeah,
different stuff.
that's in the musical too.
That's still Phil Collins's. Oh wow.
Trash the Camp. Yeah.
Trash the Gas.
Yes, it's the best. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's dope. So you would say that's your favorite?
That is my favorite role that I've ever done. I would love to do it again. I don't know if my body would let me do it again. At the time, I was doing my doctorate, so we had access to the health center and the massage therapy at school. So we got massages at a discount. So I got one every 2 weeks.
I wouldn't blame you.
Yeah, I needed it. It was rough.
Do you so with all the acting that you've done and all the performances that you've done, I know we're going more to the acting, but I do want to get eventually to like the whole singing
Yeah.
part of it. But what's something acting has taught you about life or humanity that nothing else has?
Oh, that's a good question.
I know.
I feel like it has taught me that I don't think we need to be so extreme in real life. Like, let's leave the extreme emotions to the stage. If that makes sense. I think that there's ways that people can handle and communicate stuff without the extremes.
Like, it's okay to have the emotions, but when you're overbearing, you're over.
Well, There are times that, and the reason why musicals are written this way is it's that, again, going to that need and that want, is we have to show this arc in the character, and there's always the top of the peak, and then there's the resolve that comes. As human beings, sometimes we live in the peak way too long.
Ooh.
And we allow ourselves to like live in this, and you know me, I'm very passionate as a person. But I also find resolve after I allow myself to be passionate about something and then let it go.
So, because again, with theaters, it's drama, right? It's the chaos.
But there's always resolution.
right.
There
And like
has
you
to
say, people like to live in that chaos, live in the drama, live in the peak, and they don't want to be at a like, all right, I'm good. Because that is true, right? Like, I mean, I was even saying for myself, being raised in a Mexican household, like when you watch novelas,
Oh, I know.
there,
I use that example with especially when I have like a Latino student, I will say, you know, the novellas where they're like, oh, falling down the stairs. Because I used to watch it with my grandma.
yeah,
And they're like, oh, yes. Because then they can associate how over the top
over
it has
dramatic
to
it
be.
is. Yeah,
There are some shows, though, that are not like that, that it's very
it's very real, down to earth.
realistic type of
Okay.
acting.
I like that. Do you think that has there any been with your art that's helped you process your own pain or past?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So actually, my I can't remember what year it was during grad school. My grandfather passed away at the beginning of August, and my mother passed away 11 days later. And I believe it was 11 days. 11 is a big number. I was born on the 11th. 11 days after that is when I started the semester, and I was in a show. And in that show, it talks about somebody dying, going
Oh
to
wow.
heaven, having to right their wrongs, having to help their community, and because they were not the best person
What
on
show
earth.
is this?
Carousel.
Cares.
It is my favorite show of all time. I've been able to do it twice, playing two different roles. It's it's a difficult story to tell because the person who dies, Billy Bigelow, beats his wife. And that alone, subject matter, is not a great thing. But I feel like it's a story that has to be told because it happens. And so people learning how to deal with that type of situation and maybe seeing it and thinking, oh, okay, I can walk away from that, or I can allow this grace, or I can figure out a way for forgiveness, or I can also figure out how, as a bystander, how I would react to the situation. And them seeing that story on stage, I think, can be helpful. For me, it was helpful just because I was living with the loss and the grieving. And during the process of rehearsal and the show, I was able to use some of that.
Like to make it more authentic
Yeah.
for what it was. And you know, it is because with I watched the Chosen with about Jesus' story and whatnot. And it's crazy how just a moment or a scene, like you put yourself in that place. Like they had that one scene where Peter gets out of the water and he sees Jesus and he's walking on the water, and you know he falls down because he notices all the storm around him, and he reaches out his hand. He says, "Oh, you of little faith," and it kind of hit me from my spiritual level in the sense of like, wow, I've had moments where I felt like I didn't have faith in God. When I saw in Oklahoma, what was that weird guy's name who was very
Allie
dirty?
Hackham.
Ali Hackham. Okay. For some reason, when I was seeing his character, how he played him, it put a person in my mind that kind of gave me that same like, you know, he's alone, he's lonely, no one likes him, he has these desires in him and whatnot, and I was just like, wow, like this has nothing to do with me, but why am I thinking of somebody here? Or just different characters, to just how they act, and I'm just like, it's if especially if it's something that you're going through within yourself and you see a show, it really draws closer to you because you're living in that moment. And I think that's beautiful when it comes to like the theater and whatnot. Like I don't consider myself an actor, but I make videos where I've acted or I played this certain character just to be funny.
Yeah.
And I've even had people commenting like, wow, like that's me, like that's really me. And I'm just like, it's beautiful what it can draw to a personal level. Like it's, again, it's telling your story, but you're just seeing it play out, unfold.
I will say, though, and I have to teach this to my students, it's not always healthy to use your grief or your sadness or bad experiences and relive it on stage unless you are in a good place. At the time, I feel like I had people who were supporting me enough that I was able to do that, because it's the idea of rehashing your trauma. That's not what acting should be. If you as an actor feel like you're secure enough in the place where you are mentally and physically, emotionally, then I say it's okay to try and do that.
Right. Well, yeah, because some people will, like you said, they will live their grief. They are actually using their real emotions on the stage, and they're forgetting that, hey, you're acting right now. This is not really your life right now. And to lead into this question, what is have you ever had to cry on stage, like
Oh, yeah.
physically cry?
Yeah, Kala, I did.
Is there something that you made yourself trigger think about to cause those real tears to come out?
So, yes. The hard thing is it was always if I lost Conrad. Conrad's my pug that passed.
Rest in peace to Conrad.
Not this past February, last year, February.
Great pug.
So that was always the thing. And when I did Kala, if I lost him, I was like, this is what it would feel like. And so now I don't know what I would use, because I have lost him, and I think it would put me in too heavy of a place that I wouldn't be able to control it. And you always have to have
that control.
the control of it.
You don't think you can use that as your ammunition for tears without going back, even though it's,
I don't know.
because it's,
I'd have to try it in rehearsal and see if it works.
See where it hits you.
Because here's another thing. If you're on stage acting and it starts to become about you, you're not doing the storytelling. Because it has to serve the purpose of the audience.
Right.
Like the audience, they're the ones who have to feel it, not me.
I think it's funny for me because I thought about myself in the sense of like, okay, if I was on a stage and I had to cry, what would it be that I can actually use? And honestly, one of them is losing my mom. Like that's I think that's a common one, right? Losing somebody.
Yes.
And so
something that really matters to you.
Right, something that really even my dog, even Duchess. I thought about there's moments where I'm just sitting and I look at her play and I'm just like, dang, what would happen if I lost her? How would I feel? And immediately tears would come and I'm like, all right, snap out of it, she's here, and I'll start giving her love.
Yeah.
But it's again, it's beautiful how much passion people put into it. Like they express themselves through the art of theater and all that stuff. And I think that's
What's
beautiful.
nice also is, yes, we can go to the theater and experience the pain and that, but also it's an escapism. We can go and celebrate and have joy.
True. It's not all just sad and stuff. No, there's comedy. There's the romance, the living out certain things and whatnot.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you this: what do you like more when it comes to the actual theater? Do you like the singing or the acting?
Well, it all goes together.
It all does. It all does. But
in my mind,
right.
My love of it started with singing, but when I was an undergrad, I studied a ton of opera, and I thought that that's the direction I was going to head into. But things didn't pan out when I would audition for big opera companies, and musical theater has an extra level to it because it involves dancing. And even though I don't consider myself a dancer, I consider myself a mover and a shaker.
What is a mover? Just a swing?
Well, no, the difference between a mover and a dancer is you're not as technically trained.
Right.
I can learn choreography, but I'm not going to be doing triple pirouettes, like 3 turns.
Right. I mean, you'll do certain steps and moves, and I mean, because that's what you did in Oklahoma too, right? Like how you floated to one area and whatnot, because you did that a couple of times.
Yes. But for musical theater, you have to be able to sing, act, and dance
At the same time.
Yeah, opera, acting, and singing mostly.
Tell me about, and this is just switching on a whole nother side. So you performed at the Super Bowl. That hits me
Not
because
as
I'm a
a
football fan.
soloist.
No, right, but like you performed in a big. That to me is a big stage. A lot of people see that. What Super Bowl was it? What year was this?
I wish I remembered. It's Diana Ross. It was in Phoenix. It was when Diana Ross was the headliner. She
2000s.
had to be. It was when I think it was during grad school.
You don't know who the teams played to?
No.
Oh my god!
This
I'm
is
gonna look
why.
it now. I'm gonna look it up.
So
I'm gonna
this
have to
is
do the
why
research.
they did not give us tickets. We performed and they made us leave the stadium.
You could even stay on the side or nothing to go see.
No.
What?
And Diana Ross, for the intro, she flew in on a helicopter, and then they lowered her into
It had
the
to be the
stadium.
2000s because I wasn't really. I've watched football since 2002, but I don't have the memory to be like, oh yeah, that was the Super Bowl performance.
It was a long time ago, and it was a couple weeks. We did practices for it. It was such an interesting thing. Would I do it again? No.
Was
It was a lot of work for.
So what song were you singing, or what were you just backup vocalist?
Yeah.
I mean, basically, okay.
Yeah.
But that's still dope. Like to put that on your resume, like
I
I
don't.
performed at the. You know.
No.
Just to say that you performed at the Super Bowl is a pretty.
Yeah, it's funny because I forget about it because it was so long ago. I'm very lucky.
There has to be a video.
I don't know. There has to be.
There has to be. I'm sure I could find it on YouTube and
I
see.
was going to say, I'm very lucky with the opportunities that I've had. I don't know why my life has been on the path that it has and that I've had the certain opportunities. I know that I'm a very hard worker, and I also know that I'm very good at keeping up friendships and communications with people.
I support it.
And a lot of the people in my life have become important. Mm-hmm. And because of that, I am given certain opportunities.
That's really dope. So going to the whole music thing, I remember when you first told me that you teach singing and all this stuff, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna take some class for you. I'm gonna learn. I have a friend. It's funny. She lives in Arizona too, and she sings at a choir. Mm-hmm. And I was telling her about you, and I was telling her, I was like, yeah, I really want to learn how to sing. They're like, I think you can. Like
Everybody can.
You say that, but like so you told me that it's a muscle, it's something that you practice, or it's
It's coordination of a bunch of
right,
muscles.
right.
But
It's just like learning how to ride a bike. You can learn, but you practice.
here's the thing: everybody can sing,
But you
but
can't.
can you be a great singer? I don't know.
I mean, there's a lot of artists, like especially rap artists, who start off rapping and
Mm-hmm.
then they switch to a lot of singing in their music, but they're not good singers. I realize it's their
that's-
auto tune or whatever they adjust to make it sound better.
Well, and that's not their muscle that they're constantly working.
Okay, let me ask you this, because I love Post Malone.
I love Post Malone.
What would you rate his singing? Because again, he did there was a song that he sang, and he has this thing when his voice is shaking.
Yeah, that's part of what makes him him.
What is that? What is it? What do you call that? What kind of is that? Is there a name for that? Like his
There's just a shape.
like he does like that kind of. I can't do it.
I don't know. It's part of his vibrato, which is the air-based sound that the voice makes.
Mm-hmm.
And that shake, honestly, I wouldn't take it away. That's what makes you hear his voice and you're like, oh, Post Malone.
That's true, because when I hear that, like especially when I hear him in certain musics and he's singing, I expect to hear that too.
Exactly.
How can you find out what? Because you said there's different like alto and I don't know what the other different.
So
names.
there's different voice types.
Voice types. That's what I'm looking for.
The interesting thing about voice types is in our industry, it doesn't really matter what voice type you are. Can you sing this stuff? What are you auditioning for? What are the roles you're wanting to do? Are they in your voice range? Yes. There are choral voice types like soprano, alto, tenor, bass.
What are you?
There are then what in the German world, they came up with what is called a Fach system, F-A-C-H.
Okay.
People say fuck, which sounds like a bad word, but it's not. It's basically the system is by your range and the color of your voice, they give you a name.
Okay.
So like in the soprano world, there's different kinds of soprano. There's spinto, there's lyric, there's coloratura, and they all mean different things. When I lived in that classical opera world, I was a spinto soprano, which has a very rich weight to their voice, but they still can sing very high.
Can you adjust your voice to all those kind of different ones, soprano, alto, tenor? Like, can you?
Yeah, so those are mostly just about range. In high school, I sang tenor in choir next to my brother. Ridiculous.
Why is
Because
that
there were two other girls that did the same thing. That's low for a
Yeah.
girl's voice.
Is it?
Yes,
I mean,
for a female identifying voice, that is very low.
So again, so do you think that people can sing good, but they can also sing everything? Like if I try to, like,
Absolutely, there's limits.
I think, like I was telling you, I wanted to try to sing like a Vicente Fernandez song.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've heard him, like how his voice is so thick compared to, I don't know.
Here's the
freaking-
thing. You can sing the song, but do you need to sound like him? No.
I think that's what people try to do, right? They try
Yes,
to
they
imitate the
mimic.
person. Yeah.
You don't
Okay.
need to do that. You need to sing with your voice the song that you enjoy singing and sing it like you.
But I feel like I could. So I try to sing both, like a deeper voice and then also in a high pitch voice too. And I feel like I could pull both off. But I mean, you've heard my voice crack, and
So here's the interesting thing. The way you just described it, deeper voice, high pitch, that honestly just has to do with the range of your voice. And I think you are trying to create a sound with that. And that's what's making your voice crack. This is a whole nother, like, he needs to take a lesson.
yeah, I'm going to. If we'll get the discount in and all.
That's
So
all right.
so like again for Vicente, he's like por tu maldito, like, so that's how I have to imitate it because that's how you sing it in my head.
Is
But I
it,
don't
though?
have to.
No, you don't.
I could just sing it like a normal tone.
Yes. That was a kind of, I would describe that as being a little more pulled back and a covered sound. Now, say those words without singing it.
Por tu maldito
Now, sing
amor.
it just like that.
Por tu maldito amor.
And then
Yeah, I
we
don't
would
like
add
that.
a
I don't
little.
like
We would
that.
add a little more space to it, but not go. Bordo.
Okay. What's a song that you like to sing that
I'm not
You-
singing today.
you're not gonna sing? You're not gonna give a little
No.
snippet? Oh, come
No.
on, a little snippet.
No, I'll give you a video. I'm not warmed up. I haven't sung at all today.
Just
No.
This is how I warm up. Gargle
Oh,
some
no,
salt
no,
water and gargle.
No, you have to do actual exercises to get your
Like
voice
what? What
warmed
kind
up.
of exercise do you do?
For airflow. And then a bunch of different other things.
What was that one that I showed that video of where that girl she said something and she was like, what was it that remember that video I showed
Was
you?
it the yaya?
Yeah, or something like that. That's it's crazy how that day I was looking at just different videos of how they train just to get the tone without the obviously of the song. It's like forget about the song, just focus on your tone, how you're gonna sound, because then once the words come in, like it just all gets together.
As long as you know what the real pitches are, once you put that work in, then you leave it behind and you let your voice do what it should do.
Well, since you're not gonna sing,
Nope.
but I'm still gonna ask you, is there a specific genre you like to sing? Is there a specific song that kind of like always makes you feel emotional when you sing it? Do you have a song that like kind of just it hits you like when you sing it? Like you don't even have to be going through nothing, but you listen to it and you sing it or you feel it. Is there any songs like that?
That's hard.
Because there's a lot.
There's a lot of songs. I'm a big Taylor Swift fan.
I knew you were gonna say that.
I listen to her every day in the car. I know.
Why? What is it
I
about
love
Taylor?
her storytelling. I love the story. And I love the fact, since I went to her concert, luckily, I did not pay crazy prices. I happened to get in the lottery and get tickets. I love that I now know her story because she writes about her own life, her personal experience, and knowing the backstory and then hearing the songs, makes it even deeper. Like I enjoy understanding why people write things. Because even with musicals, I do that backstory. Like I research and I look up, okay, why did this person write this musical? What were they trying to express? Was it part of their life, or what kind of story were they trying to tell? So, a Taylor Swift song that I love is Invisible String, because every time it plays, I know Conrad is sending me a message.
Really?
He's like, hey, Mom.
How does it go?
I'm not going to sing it.
Almost got it. I was close.
But it just talks about this idea of this invisible string connecting you to this other person or being.
And that's you to Conrad.
Yeah,
and
he's always connected to me. Forever and ever.
I love that. I love that. I want to be able to learn how to sing. We're gonna have to take a class or two.
Yeah.
Because I really want to go back home and pop off with the song karaoke and just surprise everybody.
Now we'll probably have to figure out something that feels simplistic in nature but still feels like it shows you off, because you don't want to pick something that feels extreme if you only have
what I'm trying to go to is the Vicente Hernandez, but that may
know.
not be my. I mean, there's some. Do you listen to a lot of Spanish music? No, so you don't know I
only know like what
like Banda MS, Banda Recodo. You don't listen to those? No.
No, I had a student, she graduated, and we would work on things, and she would tell me, oh, this artist, this song, and I would go look it up and listen to it, so I knew what she was talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think when it comes to singing, especially in Spanish, like those kind of deep, emotional Mexican music, like banda or corridos, or even rancheros and all that stuff, like those are the songs that I would want to sing to like.
Well, the thing with Spanish music is a lot of it lives also in the mariachi style, which is a very woofy, belty type of style of singing, which is...
Like it takes a lot
no,
diaphragm?
No, don't even talk about the diaphragm. People are not informed about diaphragm. That's not all it takes.
It's in the diaphragm.
You stop it. No, it's just, it comes from, there's so much more passion and cry because of the subject matter that's being talked about.
Right, that's true.
And that takes a lot for your vocal folds to understand, to have that much weight in the voice without cracking.
Because I've done that too, where I'm like singing my
Like,
heart
I'm
and
gonna
and I
go.
feel it, and then it just cracks, and I'm just like, but it's in there, it's in me.
It could be.
I love that. I just have two questions, and this one is, if you could tell your younger self one thing before your first performance, how you said it was in GCU, what would it be?
That you need to have fun every time you do it. It's not so scary. I was living in fear for too long during undergrad, and it held me back. And luckily, when I went to grad school, I had the opportunity to really push myself and to really see what I could do. I think if I would allowed myself to do that in undergrad and stop thinking of comparing myself to people, because there's no one else like me. We're all individuals.
That's true. We're all unique in our own way.
Exactly. And if you look at people on the radio, because that's what the majority of people are familiar with, that's what makes you like the people you like, because they're so unique. So I think if I would have learned that earlier, I would have been able to experience more. But I still think I've experienced a ton.
You have.
In my young life.
And you probably still, again, there's still more you want to experience. There's still more. How old would you think you would go to like when it comes to performing? Like, would you try to be
Till I die.
like that?
There are characters in musicals that they need to be old.
That's true.
Let me do those.
Let me be the old person.
Let me be them. And
Let me really be Aunt Eller when she's in her 60s or whatever.
Well, here's the funny thing is that character, she's like my age.
Is she?
Yeah, but back in those days, that was like 90 years old.
Yeah.
That is not how old I am.
Well, the makeup showed like
Yeah.
you were older and whatnot.
Plus, I just let myself look run down and didn't cover it up.
Yeah. Well, that's a southern look. that's a southern look.
Yeah. Yeah, so just telling myself, don't take things so seriously. Have more fun with it. Stop comparing.
Now, you tell that to yourself. What would you
I
tell
tell
to
that to my
people? What
students.
would you tell that, again, to someone who's starting off? Would that be the same message? Like, just
Work hard and don't expect things to just be given to you.
Do you think a lot of people fall? Okay, so do you feel like a lot of people have that mentality because there are some people who are just given? Because I think now it's easier to get noticed through social media, right?
Oh, TikTok.
There's
I'm not on TikTok.
hold on, I gotta say this. There are so many people on TikTok who should not be famous. I'm just being honest. There should not be known. They don't. There's no skill that they have, but because of the way they look or the dumb stuff they say, a lot of people are drawn easily to dumb things.
Sure.
And there's some
entertaining things.
Yes, and it's just like, bro, you're looking at the wrong entertainment. Because when I see certain people on TikTok who are performers, who are artists, who create things with their hands, and they don't have any views, I'm just like,
Yeah.
yo, you should be blowing up.
Yeah.
You should get a
Social
TikTok.
media is no, I can't do it. I get addicted to Instagram. TikTok would send me over the edge. Yeah, I think social media is such an interesting thing because it can do such good, but it can also do such harm. And I think it's amazing how many people have been discovered through social media.
Good people, good, like,
Yes.
good to society.
And people who are put directly on Broadway.
Yeah.
Which that's like the top of the food chain when it comes to musical theater.
Yeah. I see some people, like even maybe comedians and certain stuff, that they put funny stuff and you see them in different shows and whatnot. And they're playing like their character as who they are. And some works out, and some of them it's just like, you shouldn't be famous. But then again, I try not to think of the, like, not envious mindset, but you know what? You got your fame. You somehow are where you are at. Godspeed.
I think it can be easier. And so it's just trying to instill the idea that work ethic still
is required.
Is necessary, because there will always be somebody who is better than you. Always. But if I work hard and I show people that I'm willing to put in that work, that gets me noticed. Even if someone is better than me and their work ethic sucks, word gets around. So theater community is very small.
Oh, yeah.
Very,
I
very
can
small.
imagine.
Now that I've done a show, now I know people in the industry here in Denver, which is super helpful because I have 3 auditions coming up in the next few weeks.
What are they, if you want to share them? Or
I have one tomorrow, which is at the Vintage Theater in Aurora. I have one at Candlelight in July. And then, gosh, where's the other one? Oh, the other one's far. I can't remember what theater it's at. But yeah, the theater community is small. So if I am lazy and I just get things by talent, and then I go into the rehearsal process and I'm not showing that I know what I'm doing, or I know my work, or I'm working hard, people talk.
Well, even when you went to New Mexico this past weekend or whatnot, you were still, didn't you have an audition, or you were?
Oh, I had a online callback for a commercial. Yeah,
commercial?
It's a whole different world. Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That'd be dope to see you do that in a commercial. What commercial was it?
What one was that for? That one was for a brand new cancer drug. Yeah, which is exciting. I think it's what I like about it is it's helping people.
Okay. I mean, obviously, you're not going to do something that doesn't support or you believe in it, right?
Oh, yeah. No, I've been sent to audition material through my agent for different commercials and things. Some political that I'm like, no, thank you.
I don't want to touch
No,
that.
thank you.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in part of that. Even if I don't get cast, I don't want to do that.
Right.
Which is easy. I just say no.
Yeah, of course.
So my husband did say he told you about an interesting fact.
Oh, yes. Oh, my God. I'm excited about this. So, can I ask? Okay. You were a nanny.
It's not. So I know he said nanny.
Okay.
Nanny is the wrong word. It's guardian.
Guardian. Okay. I mean, there's a difference.
Yes.
You were a guardian for Emily Stone, who is known as Emma Stone, the actor Emma Stone.
Yeah.
You know the crush I have on her?
Well, she's married and has a child.
Well, that's irrelevant. But No, but she is I love
Where is she?
in a lot of different movies that
So
she's
this
in.
is her mom and me from a long time ago when she was
That's
15.
you.
Yeah, that's me.
Who's that?
That's Emily. That's
Oh
her.
my God, that's her.
This is a really yucky picture.
This is an old pic. Like you
Old
could
picture.
tell the quality of it.
That's her. That's me.
That is
That's her.
That's
That
when
was
you graduated.
my master's degree.
In
These are the
ASU?
only people who came, and they were
Who are
my
these
children.
two people?
Jen, she is a very, very good friend. She lives in New York with her husband and child, and she actually just got back in touch with Emily because Emily just moved back to New York a few years ago, and she threw her daughter's 4th birthday party, I believe, because she does event planning, and then my friend Brandon, who does work with comedians.
No way.
Yeah. Oh, let me see.
I need
That's
a-
not it.
Did I ever tell you that I done two stand up? I done a stand up one time, open mic. What?
So here's
First
the
of all,
story.
I'm gonna be honest with you. You look very Latina here with the lipstick.
So
I love
here's the
that.
story. So the story is we did 2 shows at Valley Youth Theater in Phoenix, Arizona together when she was, I want to say 14. I did it as a favor to the artistic director because Valley Youth Theater is a youth theater, but sometimes for shows they bring in adults to do some of the bigger roles. So we met doing that. I became really good friends with this group of youth, and they kind of, even though I was in my 20s, they were like, "Hey, Mom." They thought I was their
So
mom.
how old was Emily at this? Like, she's
14,
younger than you.
13, 14. Oh, yeah, because I was in my mid-20s during my grad school is when I met her.
So she was there at the Valley South
Valley Youth Theater.
Valley Youth Theater, and that was in Arizona.
Yep.
Okay.
Lots of people come out of Valley Youth Theater. Jordan Sparks.
No way, the singer.
Yep, she did shows there. Kamiko Glenn, who I'm still friends with, she was on the Orange is the New Black.
Kamiko Glenn. Which actor is she?
She played the crazy one.
The redhead one.
No.
The black girl. The black woman. The one with the.
No. Like,
Oh my
I
God,
think
'cause I
the
love-
name of her character is literally Crazy something.
Crazy
where's
Red?
Kamiko?
No.
There she is.
Oh yes. She was like in the beginning. She was very like scared and whatnot. And then What?
So she did stuff at Valley Youth Theater as well.
And do you don't keep in contact with them
Yeah, I
though?
do.
With even Emily too?
Emily, we lost touch after she won her first Oscar.
And when was that? That she had to be was what's that movie called with Steve Carell? When she's with what's his name? Who's Duchess? We're gonna go to the cage. Go.
She knows. No, she knows that we're talking about Emily.
Yeah. That's what it is.
Yeah, so crazy Valley Youth Theater. I went to New York, lived there for a little bit, hated it, moved back to Arizona. Her mom said, "Oh, our nanny's leaving us that they had for years because she wanted to start a family." She said, "Would you be willing to be Emily's guardian?" Because she was 16 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
She was going to live in LA so she could try and see if she could make this a career. And her mom and I would switch on and off like every 10 or 11 days because her brother still lived in Arizona and he was in middle school. So I did that for about 5 months. It was stressful.
Yeah.
16-year-old in LA with a car.
Was the fame get to her, like her just being, or
No,
was it just her
she's-
like exploring herself?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
She's
that's
a
what it
teenager
was. Yeah, she's
in LA.
she's trying to live her life.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's so crazy.
No, but here's the great thing about Emily. She's always just been a normal person.
A normal
Even with
girl.
all of her fame, when she started getting really famous and everything, the KitchenAid we have in our kitchen, she sent that for our
I
wedding.
heard that. That's what
We'll
Eric
keep it
told me.
forever. But no, she's always just been a normal person, and as you've seen, she's kept her life very private.
Right.
I think that's what keeps her.
If you really
Normal.
think about it, a lot of her roles too play like a normal teen. Like I remember the first time I think I saw her, at least I noticed her, was in Superbad.
Oh.
She plays
So-
like. Oh yes.
So my friend,
So she must have been 18 at that time, or she must have been young too.
yeah, that was kind of her biggest one at the time. My friend Max, he was in Superbad as well.
Who is that? Who does he play? That's not
Max,
McLovin.
no, Max was in that group of Christians, and he's the one who had started this singing in the little circle.
I can't remember that in the movie.
Yeah, you'll have to watch it. You'll recognize
Okay,
them.
I'll have to see that. That is so crazy. I think my favorite movie I'd like to watch her in it is, again, is it Pray Eat Love,
Oh
or
yeah, I haven't seen
with
that
Steve
one.
Carell and who's that good looking guy, Ryan Gosling. Ryan Gosling was so good. He looked so good. Yeah, I've realized I've always had a crush on Emily Stone. Like, she was just, never really been into redheads like that, but for her and the freckles, like, I was like, wow, she's beautiful. But that is
It's crazy, right?
that is crazy.
Yeah, that time in LA was hard. Being in that type of, so we lived in a pretty fancy area. We lived really close to the Grove on La Brea. And just keeping up appearances was a weird thing for me because I'm not of money.
Yeah.
And so, like, the car I drove was a Jaguar, and the apartments, there were other very famous people living in those apartments that we lived in.
Is there one? Who's one that you could think of? Like, just
Oh man, it was all the like what is that one girl's name from the Hills?
from The Hills Have Eyes.
No, from that reality show, The Hills. I think
I
it was
never really
called.
watched that.
Yeah, it was just interesting being around those type of people.
Did you have to live that because of Emily, or
That was the area that she wanted to be in. It was easiest to get to the auditions and to
Okay.
the studios. And so I was there in case she got something and she needed paperwork signed.
So that's what you
But
were
she
there
was
for. You were
underage.
supposed to be just, again, that
That
guardian.
and to take care of her and make sure she didn't
Was go
fall off the
crazy,
deep
wild
end.
out.
Yeah, that she ate food, that her laundry got done. I was
So
like
you-
her second mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, so what did you learn from that experience? Like, well, being with, so now that you know, again, she blew up. She's an amazing actor and all that stuff. When you think about it, you're like, wow, like, I was her guardian. You know, what can you say? Like, what kind of feeling does that bring to you? Or, like, what do you feel like you experienced? What did you get from that, from doing that?
First off, I'm so proud of her. And I'm so proud that she stayed grounded and she didn't turn into a snobby,
Yeah.
famous actor. And also, I don't want to live that life.
Like, that's too much.
That's a
just,
lot. Yeah. Yeah. Like, I always felt I had to look a certain way being in that area and driving that car. I don't ever want to be like that. Like, I just want to be myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that is crazy. Like, to imagine you living that way, or having to, you had to show off this kind of image that you were like,
Well,
I'm
it was
from the
so
ghetto.
weird. Yeah, because I
From
would
the
go.
ghetto.
There was like a thrift, a secondhand store really close to us, and I loved going there with the clothes because they had like nicer clothes and stuff. But every once in a while, I'd go and there would be paparazzi because somebody famous was in there. And I'm like, "Ugh, I don't want to live this life. This is annoying. I just want to go to Marshall's. Just want to go to the store and find some fun clothes.
So after she, you say you were doing that for 5 years. So after
No,
that,
5 months.
5 months. Sorry, 5 months.
Yes.
So after 5 months, did they just find?
Well, no, I, during that time, started dating my now husband and decided that I wanted to move to New Mexico
Be with
because
him.
we were doing a long distance and I didn't like that.
How,
So
how
I
did
quit.
how did he feel when you told him, like, yeah, I'm just a guardian for Emma Stone? Well, then again, she wasn't as big at that time, so he probably
Yeah, at
was
that
just,
time,
yeah.
she was no one.
All right.
She had done the Partridge Family reboot, and that did
I
not
don't even
do
know.
well.
I don't even
Go
know what
look
that
it
is.
up. It did not do well. She was good in it. Like, it was. If you look at it, it's so Emily. It's so her.
So just kind of quick, if you want to talk about it, you told me about how you and your husband met at that time, and I remember now that's kind of coming together. Like, you were in L.A., he was in New Mexico. How did you guys meet? Through a friend, family?
Yes, my family lives in New Mexico in Las Cruces, and that's where he was living. and they went to the same church, and I would always go when I would go visit for holidays and sing at church. And so I knew him through that community and situation. And then he was at my family's for Christmas before I started that job. And he asked my aunt for my email address. And he started emailing me.
I'm not gonna lie, that's a very white thing to do.
It's very...
Let me get her
He's
email.
very white.
He's great though. I love Eric.
Yeah.
That's beautiful though. And then did you you saw him? You're like, okay, he's cute. He's
Sure.
a nice little whippersnapper. Like,
Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then now you guys been married for 30 years.
No. Oh my gosh.
Like 18, 15 years.
I suck because I never know what let's see, 16. It'll be 16 in August.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. And then again, so once you guys were dating while you were still in LA.
Yeah, and then I moved there, and he told me, "Why are you moving to Las Cruces, New Mexico?" And the reason why was because there's hardly any theater. He was like, "You cannot do what you want to do here."
Yeah. But you did it because of him? Like you
I did. I wanted to see if this was something worth having.
That's goals.
But no, I thrived with different theater things there too, and I created my own path and
your own networking, just connecting with people and whatnot. And
did a show at UTEP Dinner Theater in El Paso.
Okay.
And did Viva El Paso as Abuelita, as the grandma.
That's
character.
A musical.
Yeah, they do their own musical thing in the canyon there in El Paso.
Okay.
Outdoor. Yeah, I ate a bug while singing.
Ate a bug?
Yeah, because you got to keep going. No, so it proved that I needed to move there. It proved to be part of the plan.
That's beautiful. I love that. Well, I just have one last question, and I feel like this would be an easy one for you to answer. Well, maybe. Oh. So, what would you sing and act if it was the last song or the last play the world ever heard? So first do the first song. So what would you sing if it was the last song the world has ever heard?
Song, if it had nothing to do with musical, and it was
any
just
song.
The song that I
Taylor
sang,
Swift.
No, at my mother's memorial, which is "His Eye Is on the Sparrow." I love that song.
His Eye Is on the Sparrow?
His Eye Is on the Sparrow.
Who sings that?
You've never heard that song? It's beautiful. Go look it up. It just talks about how if God can keep the sparrow safe, why can't he keep you safe? Don't doubt, trust.
That's beautiful. I like how it's ending with that. That's beautiful. Okay, so what would you act or perform in if it was the last performance the world has ever seen?
So
and well, I would say like you could choose one that maybe you haven't done, but I think it'd be better if it's one that you've done.
It would be Carousel, just because that's my favorite. And the song that is most famous from Carousel, that I actually got to be the character the last time I played it, the song is called "You'll Never Walk Alone," which is another one that is talking about the storm coming upon you, but you're never going to walk alone because I'll be right there by your side.
That's deep. I love that.
Yeah,
that's amazing. I love that. Is there anything you want to share to people who are watching? Any advice? I know you already said, like, you know, if people who want to start the career as a, you know, acting or singing or performing, whatnot, you know, to work hard. But is there another message you want to give to people?
Yes, support the arts. It's a hard time right now. All kinds of funding is getting pulled from the arts, and they're very important. If you think about any career, if anybody gets involved in theater, choir, those skills you learn there, and community, communication, they're so valuable no matter what field you go into.
I agree.
I agree. You can be hired. Like, I can talk anyone's ear off about information. And it doesn't mean that it has to just be about theater. If it's something I've researched, I feel very comfortable giving people that type of information because I've learned how to process it, but then also how to present it. And so I think if you can get in, like if you're excited about maybe trying theater, there's community things that you could try for. Community theaters don't require you to pay any money. They just require you to go audition. Yeah, and get involved in like a choir or who knows what. Sometimes background acting. They ask people in the community, and they even pay you a little bit for background acting in
I've
films.
done it.
Yeah.
I've done it. I played as it was a UFC movie. It's not that big, but it was in Birmingham, and I played as the audience, like screaming, and it was crazy. We had different moments where they would replay the same scene, and they're like, "All right, in this one, you guys need to be yelling." Like actually with the voice coming out, and then this other one, no voice, but you're
action.
So I thought that was pretty dope that I was able to do that. And I think the other time I've ever had some kind of, I guess, performing arts was stand up. I did 2 different open mic sessions. The first one I did was actually was okay. The second one I bombed, and that taught me a lot. Just those 2 times, just the fact that like being able to be in front of a stage and hear people like respond to what's coming out of your mouth, being able how to present something. Yeah.
Right?
Oh man, I thought I had all the confidence in the world before I went up there. When I got up there and I had only 8 people staring at me, I was just like, yeah, I'm scared I'm gonna fart or something. Like just the worst thing could happen. Yeah, I feel like that's true. I feel like it's very entertaining. It's gonna reveal a lot of things about yourself. What are you really scared of? And it will break a lot of chains that you have been holding on to.
I think so too. And I think I had hoped that COVID would help people recognize this, but art is everywhere. You watch TV every day, and if you close your eyes, there's so much music. Every commercial has music. Every show you watch has background music that leads you to feel certain things.
That's so true. Like
It's everywhere.
just watching The Walking Dead, like the suspense, something's gonna happen, but once it stops, it's like, oh, it's calm now.
And those composers do that for a reason. They write that to help further the story along.
Right.
So I think it's so important for people to understand they have to financially help us fund the arts, and that it is important. And I know a lot of schools are cutting that, and
Really?
it's sad because I was so thankful growing up, even in a very impoverished community, a school that didn't have a lot of money. We had art classes, we had shop, we had things where we could do things with our hands. We
Home
had
ec.
choir, home ec. We had these things that require some type of skill that I feel like I've been able to bring into my own life, no matter if I was doing theater or not. I just think it's so important for kids to have that still available to them.
As an outlet, right? Like not everybody has to do a trade, play sports or anything, but go to something like that truly expresses themselves and their art and what they have. Because I do believe, like, you're right. Like a lot of people don't have the opportunity. I wanted to play football, and I was going to when I was living in California. Again, it was it was in the high desert. It wasn't that expensive, so anybody could really join. But I moved from middle school to my high school in the summer to Alabama, and Hoover High School, where I went to, it's a very well known. They have a very well known football program. Like they know the people in the middle school there. Football's big in the South.
Yeah.
So I wanted to join as my freshman year, and I needed, I think, just like $500 just to get the stuff, and if I'm even gonna play, and my family didn't have money like that to just throw around. We had just moved there. We were in a tough situation, so it sucks that a lot of it has to do with money in order to just get recognized and stuff. And a lot of people have pure talent in just things, but they're just not being recognized. And again, social media does help that. TikTok does help that. For people who really want to be exposed and want to have some light shed on them, TikTok, use that platform now that we have it, unless it goes away or they use something else.
Yeah, it's really true. And then just look in your local communities. Like, I love the news station I watch here. They always have a thing that you can donate towards for the week. And
or events that are going on and
Exactly.
whatnot.
Yep, in your local community, there's always places where you can give back,
Right.
even if it's $5. Because I know not everyone's made of money.
Right. Amen. Well, Carrie, this honestly, this is the best first episode. Obviously, is my favorite. Right now, is gonna be my favorite. But thank you so much for just taking the time to do this. Honestly, this really means a lot. You really have no idea because I've been waiting forever to get somebody on here. This is my fourth episode of doing this podcast, and it's hard talking about yourself and just yourself and
It
just other
is,
things. So
yeah.
I love talking to people, and I'm glad that you were one of them because I knew you were gonna be a perfect fit because you have so much to say. So I
It's
hope
true. Too
maybe
much.
next time we could do it again. Maybe with a better setup. Hopefully.
No singing.
No. Oh my god. Well, thank you guys for joining. This is Carrie Ann Klofach. Do you want people to follow you anywhere on social media? You want to put your Instagram or
We
nothing?
can do it when you.
Okay, well I'll edit
Yeah.
it. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. I hope you guys have a great day. Stay blessed.